Thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to today's Automation Conundrum webinar. So I'm just going to do some quick introductions to the lineup of speakers. I'm Gareth Morris, Business Development Manager of Spherica Business Solutions. I'm joined today by Craig, who is the Head of Innovation at our Digital Innovation Division, Synaptek. We've got Boaz on the call, who is the VP of Strategic Accounts at Workato, and Amanath, who's a Senior Solutions Consultant at Workato. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining today. And looking forward to the discussion later. So I'm just going to quickly run through the agenda of what's coming up. So we've got some research findings that we're going to be sharing, and we'll delve into these findings and discuss those in the fireside chat, before ending with a kind of real life use case, which Amanath will be demonstrating on how the latest technologies is making work easier and saving significant costs and easing process pains. So firstly, I'd like to introduce Spherica. I'm not going to run through this timeline in detail, but really what it's here to represent is our evolution from what was a traditional IT managed service provider to what we certainly deem as the next generation of managed service provider. We are, well, automation first specialist. We've been delivering IT managed services for more than a decade, and in 2019 we recognized an opportunity to evolve our service to help address some of the issues and complexity that our customer environments were facing. This led to the launch of our Digital Innovation Division, Synaptek, and the repositioning of our approach. So really our vision is to create a data-driven IT services that uniquely fuses technology, automation, and people to deliver business-changing experiences. So what this means is that we really put automation at the heart of our service and look for opportunities and strive to identify those opportunities to improve processes, reduce costs, and enhance user experience by reducing manual time-consuming tasks. This enables our customers to spend more time on those high-value activities and innovation rather than those mundane tasks. So I'll hand over to Craig, who's going to talk more about why we decided to create a division which is dedicated to innovation and how Synaptek was born. So over to you, Craig.
Thanks, Gareth. Hi, everybody. I'm Craig, Head of Innovation at Synaptek. Synaptek was really created because of our frustrations with traditional IT providers. I started my career as an IT engineer, and I spent most of my time just doing tickets, never really getting to innovate. The tickets just kept coming and coming and coming. So I started basically just automating simple IT processes. And this quickly became an idea that we started to formulate. We started really in the IT space. So as Spherica is our parent company, we did an awful lot of IT automation for Spherica, which allowed Spherica to start moving to automation first. And then when Synaptek became a thing in 2019, we quickly branched out into many other businesses. So we started to look into finance, HR, and many others. And it was really quite enlightening just how quick it took off. So that's what we now do. We are a digital innovation division within Spherica who focus on automation. So with that, I'll hand over to Boaz to give a little introduction to Workato.
Yeah, you can go to the, yeah. So I'm going to start actually maybe from the problem, which hopefully will resonate with a lot of the practitioners on the call. And thanks everyone for being on the call. So at Workato, we like to take a look at the business process first, right? Fundamentally, we're the technology solution, we're the platform, and we'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. But we saw as a recurring problem among large and small organizations alike, that basically there is some sort of business process. It might relate to a customer journey. It might relate to an internal journey of a process. It might relate to a citizen journey if you work in the central government or the public sector space. And those processes tend to cut across different departments. So, you know, in this sort of simple example, it would cut across, you know, sales, marketing, finance, and analytics. And they tend to cut across a variety of different applications and databases. Some are difficult to use, some are easy to use, some are open, some are closed. Some of the people involved are technical, some are business. And so fundamentally, there was the opportunity to work on the problem that is silos between these different groups, these different, you know, the data silos, silos between applications, and silos between people and teams. You can move on to the next one. And we saw that a lot of customers, by trying to solve those problems of silo, ended up with what looked like a wild spaghetti architecture, right? Some tools connect some applications, other tools that may be more difficult or less difficult, more modern or more legacy, connect other ones. And then there was always kind of this, you know, shadow IT, which results in some level of frustration where people just start sending Excel spreadsheets around. So I think, you know, everyone can kind of relate to this. You know, Workato's job, as we see it, is to come in and clean this up, right? If you move on to the next one, you know, Workato fundamentally, first and foremost, is an integration and automation platform. We're calling it enterprise automation platform. The first thing we do is we help completely connect your organization, right? So whether you have a legacy systems on premise, modern systems in the cloud, you know, big crazy things like SAP that are harder to connect to, or simpler, you know, SaaS applications, whatever they are, Workato can connect across any application so that you can move data and processes throughout these different application landscapes. The next build, it's a platform that's meant to be low code or no code, which means that IT can govern it, IT can use it, but the business can also get involved. This is sort of expanding, let's say, the amount of knowledge workers that you can have within your organization. And then we can kind of do the next two builds, if you don't mind. Yeah. What we mean by completely inspired, we have a massive community where they build and share different kinds of automations, different use cases. Maybe you're working on HR use cases or finance use cases or Salesforce use cases or SAP use cases. We have a huge community library where you can kind of go and see what are the best practices, what have other people done, what does Workato do? So there's some sort of crowdsourcing component to it. And it's adapted to change. And you'll see, I think, later in the demo, how easy it is to kind of iterate and change these things as change these automations as your processes mature and change as well. So the idea is that you should be able to connect across your enterprise, across all of those applications, and that you should be able to engage the business and IT together as a team sport. I think that those are the two most important concepts, and hopefully something we'll get a chance to talk about later. I'll leave it for that.
That's great. Thank you very much, Boaz, and thank you, Craig, as well. So you see your point about adaptability there. I think you mentioned earlier. I think that's you know, everyone on the webinar can agree that it's never been tested more than it has in the last couple of years or so with throughout the pandemic. So now let's delve into the research findings. The research, just to give you an overview and insights into that, it's been undertaken at a very interesting time. As digital transformations have accelerated in response to the pandemic, ways of working have been reinvented almost overnight. We've all seen lots of challenges, but through that, I think you know, there have been lots of benefits as well. But yeah, those impacts around efficiency and ultimately changed how we engage with employees and customers has been massive. So the research extracts in the following slides are taken from the Automation Conundrum Research Report, which was conducted in partnership with Workato and industry news outlet Public Sector Executive. So thank you to those who are on the webinar today who took part and contributed to the research. It's much appreciated. So the purpose of the research was to really understand common process pain points and understand what the barriers to success and investment in technology and undertaking strategies and tactical automations and solving those pain points. So We're going to get started with an overview of these, and we'll delve into some of the key points which have been surfaced from the research in our panel discussion. So I think it really comes as no surprise that 79% of the responders of the research have seen their digital transformation investments increase by the impact of the pandemic. Yeah, we've seen lots of statistics in the news, statements such as digital innovation and digital transformation has seen more change due to the pandemic than in the last 10, 20 years, and lots of kind of stats being kind of stated. And we're seeing not just in the public sector, but also in private sector too. However, what did surprise us was the disparity between the appetite for automation and the speed of investments. There's many. The data shows that 7% of respondents don't have an automation roadmap, yet only 28% actually implemented any automation technology, and a third don't even have a strategy yet. So whilst there is an appetite for automation, it's not really translating into automation being widely adopted across the public sector. I think we'll come back to that point in the panel discussion. So again, we'll be going into more depth later, but this slide really shows that there are consistent challenges across organizations, and I suppose 3 talking points which come out, whether that's in conversations we're having or through this data, which kind of backs up what we said. There are siloed platforms and processes come out of the most impactful, followed by legacy systems, and there being a skills deficit as well. These will be the focus of the kind of panel debate that we've got upcoming. But we're just going to trigger a poll now to see if these are actually things that are resonating and affecting your organisation too. So it'd be great if you could participate. So I'm going to launch that and give just 15-20 seconds to respond. Okay, we've still got some people responding here, so I'm just going to let it roll for a few seconds longer. Okay, so as you can see, siloed platforms and processes is coming out on top, followed by legacy systems and skills deficit also resonating with the audience. A couple of respondents there saying it's all of the above. I'm sure that most organisations feel the pain in all of them. So thank you very much for participating. So again, it will come as no surprise that the research identified cost as being one of the biggest barriers to success in improving processes. Whilst our previous slide showed that 97% of respondents have implemented automation or have it on the roadmap, the results show that many don't consider it a business priority, which may come down to lack of strategy. And we also feel communication of that strategy across the business. Automation won't kind of champion itself, and it does need internal communications and PR to be successful as well. So whilst the complexity and lack of skills don't appear to be significant barriers to investment, the availability of these skills may be delaying the identification, implementation, and the ability to define the success criteria for automation projects. So we do feel that this is a contributor to as to why potentially that things don't get to actually being put forward as a business strategy. And I suppose that's where we can add value as experts in the field, because collaboratively, we simplify a lot of the complexity in understanding where value can be delivered, and what solutions work for your environment. And then your workforce can they're not affected from their business as usual activities. So another barrier identified in the research was a lack of understanding of the automation technology available in the marketplace. We asked the question highlighting technologies which are commonplace and available and have been for many years, which offer varying levels of automation capabilities and success. So the results found that over 50% of respondents lacked awareness of some of the technologies highlighted here. We'd like to get a read from the audience now too. Also, if this resonates with you, we believe that this can be a significant barrier if people aren't aware of these technologies and developing a successful strategy. So we are just going to launch another poll. These are useful to us, and it's good to understand what your peers are seeing in the market too. We're just going to leave this run for 20 to 30 seconds. Right, so just going to end this poll now. Share those results, which is quite interesting. There's obviously an element of knowledge across the market. One knowing all of those options available. So it would take a long time. I think we could all be on this for a couple of hours or more to explain the difference of benefits and risks of different types of solutions available. But I think that this slide does a good job of giving you a flavor of what is known as the intelligent automation continuum. If you think of it as going from systems that do on the left-hand side to systems that think and systems that learn. Understanding the differences will help you to kind of determine where your organization needs to be on in your automation continuum or your automation journey. This will help you avoid making costly mistakes in investing in the wrong types of technologies and solutions. So the two ends of the spectrum. On the left, we've got RPA, which was better known. I think the polls showed that, and certainly our research has showed that RPA is quite widely known. And there are many organizations already investing heavily in RPA. It does have its place in business process automation, but alone it doesn't deliver the functionality and scalability for modern enterprises, modern organizations to kind of meet long-term business goals. RPA is a solution that does, and it can increase the speed and efficiency of processes, but it's rule-based. So if something in the process changes, the automation breaks, for want of a better word, making it quite inflexible and sometimes very fragile. At the other end of the scale is hyper-automation, which combines advanced technologies such as AI and ML, so artificial intelligence and machine learning, with integration and automation tools to deliver more human-like solutions that can think and they can evolve. It's data-driven and self-learn, so you can deliver advanced outcomes, and you can grow and adapt with your business as it grows and changes. So defining the solution that's most effective for your needs can be a real minefield, but it's one that we help with our customers navigate to avoid those kind of mistakes in investing in those wrong types of technologies. What we will be doing after the webinar is sending you a free copy of our Automation Success Kit. In there, it gives you some great information on how to create a roadmap and getting your automation strategy right. So look out for that in your inbox. So we're going to dive into three of the challenges which were highlighted earlier to discuss how we address the barriers and drive positive change. Boaz, if we can start with one that's, I believe, is right up Workato Street, is even before the pandemic, we've all been battling with the challenge of the explosion of digital applications, the resulting curse of many applications and tabs open in your browser. I think going back to your earlier slide as well, organizations now have hundreds, if not thousands, of applications in play across business technology, IT. What does that mean for the teams that are managing these?
Yeah. No, thanks for that question. So yeah, if you look at maybe the first slide I had, even you had a simple business process might touch many departments, might touch many people and many applications and databases. I think the good news, it's a double-edged sword. The good news is that for every specific business function or business task, there's now really specialized, really helpful applications that you can use. They tend to be SaaS applications, at least the modern ones. They're really easy to light up. They're easy to learn. And so there's tools out there that make our jobs easier, faster, tasks less painful, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all really good. The downside to that is that you're shifting to this kind of like massive best of breed approach where, you have all these different tools to accomplish all these different tasks, and they don't natively just talk to each other, right? And so I think the first thing you have to think about is that when you make these improvements, you have to think about, how do I connect all of these things together, right? Having 15 tabs, I probably have 30 tabs open right now. How do I make sure that when I finish a process in Salesforce and I click, closed or move to stage or whatever that process is, that it updates correctly in all the other applications that I needed to update correctly. Additionally, for the employee experience, if I need to order a new laptop, or I need to hire someone, or I need to give someone a raise, or whatever that is, send an IT ticket, how do I make sure for my employees that that's not going to require them to send an email, go to ServiceNow, do something else in another system, and then something else in a final system, right? And so I think the idea is, first, you need some technology that brings everything together, right? You need effectively something that can integrate them, and there's many ways to do that. And then you need some sort of user experience tool, right? We have something that we work with, which is around like headless operations that integrate with things like Slack or Teams. There's other ways to do it as well. But I think fundamentally, priority one is to connect all your tools and your systems. And priority two is to make sure that the user experience for your employees requires them to go to as few different places as possible.
That's great, thanks, Boaz. And under Craig, how is it that Synaptek are helping organizations to achieve this?
Just to really echo what Boaz just said, it's integration and automation. We work with customers to understand the workflows that they currently have. SaaS sprawl is a very real thing. Like, I have a few tabs open myself, but a lot of the use cases we come across is data. So you've got a lead in your marketing platform. What do you do with that data? Oh, you need to copy that into CRM. That's 2 tabs there. So we'll work with our customers to kind of identify those issues and those touch points, and we will suggest integrations and automations to help even sync that data. It might seem like a small task to copy the data to 2 places, but if you're doing that for an awful lot of use cases, then it takes a lot of time. So we work with our customers to identify those touch points and help automate them.
I suppose that task might be simple, but it could be of a massive volume as well. So yeah, great time savings. So moving on to legacy systems now. I've certainly heard many times before that automation has been put on the back burner, or is not on the agenda until maybe a legacy system has been replaced, or there's a program to migrate off it in the future, and automation is kind of delayed because of that. Boaz, what would you say to anyone who was kind of believes they are held back from outdated technology that they may have in their stack, and what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so I'll give a disclaimer. I work for a kind of cutting edge technology company, so I have some bias around this. So let me try to remove that bias before I answer this question. I think, especially when you look at the larger organizations out there, the larger enterprises and government that tend to have a large, higher propensity of legacy systems, and for good reason, because they've been around for a while and those were cutting edge technologies at the time. I'll make two points to this. I think one, find low-hanging fruit, right? And this is not like, I'm not revealing anything kind of genius here. I think a lot of people have echoed this, but really do try to find low-hanging fruit, because we've seen so many times where an organization brings in this new technology for just one use case, the one that's appropriate, and they get to put that into production and show some sort of return on investment in the first month or two, let's say, right? And it doesn't take much more to latch onto the second use case and the third use case. Before you know it, you have some sort of critical momentum. Before you know it, you can say, what started as a 30K investment or 20K investment has now brought me a million pounds in cost saving, right? It took some time. We did it step by step. We didn't overinvest up front. We didn't have too high of expectations, but little by little we started chipping away, and now there's some sort of critical mass, and then you can invest more properly around it. So I would say, do try to start small, find use cases that make sense. There's always the worry that you shouldn't go too much piecemeal and then you end up with a monster in the end. So you have to be careful, but it's, the alternative is waiting until the entire roadmap and architecture and strategy is defined. And that can take so many years that then your legacy systems are even more legacy, and you're in even maybe a deeper mess than you were when you could have gotten started with something small. So what I've seen our customers do that works, if there's not a big digital transformation program in place, find something that's painful, that's a low-hanging fruit, and just focus on that in a kind of pilot mode. And if it works, expand from there.
Fantastic. That seems a great and logical approach. It's certainly what's mirrored within Synaptek, I feel. Yep. So great. How do we prevent the possibility of any automation technology or work gone into automating processes becoming obsolete when, say, a legacy platform is finally modernized or moved to a SaaS platform?
Okay, so legacy systems are here to stay. I think if we do talk about government and large organizations, it's very hard to move them out because they're very good at what they do and they're there for a reason. But when it does come to application modernization, which every company probably will do in the future, the business process will often remain the same. So you wouldn't go out looking for a tool that's going to completely reshape how you do things. You look for a tool that's going to mimic, if best possible, some of the workflows you've already got. And that's where the beauty of working with somebody like Workato comes in really handy for us, because it allows you to just plug your new system on the front and new system on the end, and largely retain a lot of the process already. So it does pay, if you've got legacy systems, just to start thinking about it now and go for the low-hanging fruit like Boaz suggested, because it will be worth it.
I suppose that also helps in commoditizing any future IT investments as well.
Yep.
Great. So to touch on the last point now, skills deficit falls into a number of categories, including resistance to change and perceived complexity of the task and the skills that might be available within an organization, and also just lack of time. Boaz, I know that you've got some strong views on skills deficit. and I'd like to have your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that it's rightfully called a skills deficit to begin with. I think that the real goal of, let's call any kind of technology that is called low code, no code, or citizen approach, right, or self-service, whatever these, there's a bunch of phrases that describe effectively technology that's easier to use, right? And fundamentally, I think that it's easier to use, it should be easier to use for people who already have skills, maybe not technical skills, maybe not IT skills, or, you know, skills in Java or SQL or whatnot, but they're experts in their own field, HR, finance, sales, marketing,
Yep.
whatever that is, right? So the idea is, so that's why I like to challenge the concept of skills, because it's a very specific set of skills that we're trying to make it not required, right? So that you can expand, you know, I think of all of these people as knowledge workers, people that can work with data. I would consider them knowledge workers. And the goal for any organization should be to expand the pool of knowledge workers that they have, right? And so I'm sure that, you know, people who are in accounting or in finance or in HR, these are intelligent people who are probably frustrated because you know, they never did learn SQL or Java or anything like that. And giving them the power to be able to kind of do more technical things to make their jobs easier, to make the process, the employee experience, the customer experience better. I think it's paramount, right? I think it's one of the most important things that we can do in the technology space. And so I think you need to bring in tools that are easier to use, whatever we want to call that, whether it's low code or self-service or citizen approach. But I think it's absolutely critical, and that's been one of our North Stars at Workato, is expanding that workforce that can automate and integrate systems.
Sure, that's great. And Craig, I suppose for you and Synaptek, how is it that you augment those teams to help them to increase the rate of the adoption of automation?
And this has already been said in the previous question, but it starts small. So you will find across not just IT, which is my field, but most of the functions in a business, that there'll be something that people do and it takes them 5 minutes a day, and they just do it without thinking. It's where we really began automating some small IT processes, and we'd work with them just to point them in the right direction. It's like, well, if you write a script for that, it doesn't take much to do. Just try and do something really small, automate it, ask for help, and you will start to see the light, I guess. From that point on, the ball will start rolling.
Great stuff. So thanks for your input, gents. It's been really, really good to hear those responses. So what I'm going to do now is just jump back into the research for a second to talk about some of the common pain points, because there were a lot of process pain points that were identified in the research, but one that stands out relevant to every organization is employee management tasks, employee life cycle management, such as onboarding and offboarding, joiners, leavers, movers, as we call it here. For one of our customers, we automated that JLM processes, and the results of that was that we saved 40 hours of admin just in IT per month. There were some knock-on effects in other departments too, and thousands of pounds were saved in timely license deactivation. It also mitigated a significant data security risk by removing human error in deactivating accounts when employees leave the business, and lastly, enhanced employee onboarding experience. So the onboarding process was much smoother. People were much more effective, and they were able to the time to delivering value to the organization was also improved. So you can see the benefits of automating these common processes are far-reaching. So with that, it kind of neatly segues into back to Workato and Amarnath, who's going to show a couple of use cases that demonstrate how you can automate the work out of everything.
Thank you, Gareth. Let me share my screen. Before I jump into the demo, I just wanted to give a quick overview of the platform. So this is the platform where we build out all the recipes, and as you see, it's a platform which you can access and through a web browser. You need not install anything, and you need not worry about setting up, running some executable, etc. And all you have to do is have a browser and access to workspace, then you're good to go, right? And at the platform level, we track two types of assets. One is recipes and one is connections. Recipes is what we call the different automations and integrations we build in Workato, right? Before I show you a recipe, I just want to show you like what a simple automation. As just now, Garrett spoke about the GLM process. So I'll just show you a quick automation, how we can automate the complete HR onboarding process. I'm pretty sure this is a common process which is common across every organization, and most of the organization have this manual, right? So this leads to a lot of disconnects, as you already saw, like especially in the offboarding process, a lot of security issues. In the onboarding process, when the employee joins, he has to roam around or go to different systems and talk to different people to get his access alone. So he loses a first couple of days in that itself. And HR has to reach out to multiple stakeholders, understand the candidate information, feedback, etc. And then the HR needs to collate all this and finally put that into the HR system like Workday or anything, and then again generate the offer letter manually and send it, all those things, right? So now let's see how you can actually automate the entire process using Workato and using a common engagement platform like Slack or Teams, right? So today I'll be showing in Slack. The similar thing could be done with Teams, for example, right? So in Slack, I have a bot here called the HR bot, which is nothing but an application in Slack. And here in the home page, you can see like I have different buttons like onboarding with Workday and UiPath, Bamboo HR, etc. Right? So let me start off. I want to onboard a new employee who is in my Workday, and let's see how the process takes me through. Right? So let me click on onboarding. So you can see it created a new channel here at the left-hand side, like saying, "Hi, David," with today's date and the workday. As of now, I have one candidate for hiring. So the candidate name is David Martinez, and this is the position he's being hired for, and where is his location, right? And it is also getting me the feedback from relevant people, like who have taken interview for this candidate, and is providing me the comments and verdict for this particular candidate. And another interesting feature is it has also went ahead and added the people into this panel already, so that if I want to have a quick discussion about this candidate, I can go ahead and have it without reaching out to them one by one, right? So since the verdicts are all yes, I can go ahead and just create an offer. So it is fetching me a Workday Workday pop-up wherein it is giving me the compensation guide. So every organization has their own compensation guide which they follow depending on the region and the pay grade and the location, right? So the HR need not log into the Workday system. So based on the candidate role which is being hired for, these information are fetched back from Workday and displayed it to you for creating the offer, right? So let's choose the salary based on the range and the stock options, and choose the start date. Let's say I want the candidate to join on 14th February, and if I want to put some additional comments, I can just add it. Then finally, I can click submit. If I scroll down, so you can see it is asking me to review the offer details. So I can edit it if I want to change anything. If not, I can go ahead and send the offer. Okay, so now you saw like it has generated an offer letter to David in DocuSign and sent him an email. And it'll also take care of reminding David on a regular basis if he doesn't sign the document in the next 2 days, like that. And you saw the complete pre-hire to hire process was automated, where as a HR, I need not move out of Slack or log into Workday or go to DocuSign and generate the offer letter, etc. Right? Everything was completely automated with just a couple of clicks. Right? So now let's take this process a little further. So let me log in as David. So here I have my have logged in as the candidate. So here you can see that as a candidate, I've received an email, which is just now 0 minutes ago. And I can review the document right here in DocuSign. Okay, so I can see that the position being offered to me, the salary and the stock options, etc. And as as the candidate, I can go ahead and if I'm fine with this offer, I can go ahead and sign it right away. Right, I'll click sign and finish. Okay. So I would also receive a copy in my email once the document is completed. So let me refresh my Gmail. Yeah, I received the completed offer letter into my Gmail account so that I can use this as my reference. And the HR will also be notified in a certain time as soon as the offer letter has been signed by David, right? So every company uses their own template, so you can use your own template and generate the offer letter. So you can see as a HR, I received a notification saying David Martinez has signed the offer letter, shall we begin onboarding, right? So now with this, we're actually solving the second problem, wherein you are, as a employee, you log in on the first day, you have your access to the required applications ready, and it's all provisioned with the required licenses. And here you can see like the following default applications which has been provisioned for David, like the Workday, the ServiceNow, Jira, and the Gmail account ID, and also Zoom with some license. And we can even provision additional applications, right? I could choose Salesforce, Marketo, and say GitHub and submit. I can edit the applications. If not, I can go ahead and confirm. Okay. So next is asking me if I can proceed with equipment provisioning, right? So if I want to already, I have to provide him a laptop, so I can even do that. So I'll click on purchase equipment. So it's asking me what all equipments I need to provide. I want to say a MacBook and an iPhone. I can click submit. I can confirm the equipment. So it's basically creating a ServiceNow request for that particular candidate, and it'll add it to that, add the whatever items I've selected, right? It's also giving me a link to open the request in ServiceNow to check if all the data has been entered correctly. So you can see that there is the new hire, David Martinez, and it was created today. And you can see it has added the Apple MacBook and the Apple iPhone into the ServiceNow request, right? So, and finally, you can even send a welcome email to David, say, welcome, what is the start date? Say 14th, what is the reporting time? Or who is his manager? And if you want to put some additional comments, etc., you can put that, right? And click submit. You can see it has created an email structure based on your based on the email template which could be given to you by your which you follow in your organization, and you can just finally use that and send the email to the user. So I'll say confirm email. So if you go back to the candidate email, so you can see like he has received an email saying that welcome aboard, your start date is on 14th February, see you at 10 a.m. and this is the John, reach out to John Wick, who is your manager, on the first day, right? And finally, I can archive the channel to I can start onboarding my next hire, right? So you saw that what all happened here. So it also gave me a summary, so that we onboarded from the pre-hire to hire process. The HR was able to automate the entire process just from Slack, without moving to logging into any other system. So it is enhancing the employee experience, because on the first day of his job, he need not worry about access anything. Everything is provisioned. His laptop is provisioned, as well as the entire system is provisioned, and he can start being productive from day one, right? And also from the HR experience perspective, I am trying to onboard a candidate from a place which I use on a daily basis, that is Slack or Teams, and it is elevating my experience as well, reducing the human errors, etc., and automating even the offer letter generation, which is also digitally signing the document, etc. Right? And all this is done using our concept called recipes, which I'll go now to the platform. So here I just want to show you a quick recipe. This may not be the same recipe which I showed you. This is related to finance, where we are trying to automate the order to cash process. So here you can see how the recipe would look like. Here it is like we have trigger. Trigger is nothing but an event which will start the recipe. So whenever a new or updated opportunity which is closed won in Salesforce, you want to search for the opportunity products, then search for customer in SAP. So SAP is an on-premise system. So you're connecting cloud to on-prem system. And also you are checking if the customer is not present, go ahead and create it. And you're also calling a sub recipe or a recipe function to create the sales order in SAP. So if I click on this, you can see that you call the create sales order, and you call the corresponding PAPI or remote function. And finally, if you go back to the main recipe, it will check if the customer is present. It'll update the customer in SAP and also call the same recipe function. And finally, notify the user saying the sales order has been created in your ERP system. Go ahead and work on the procurement, etc. Right? So you saw, like in the previous example and this example, how easily with this recipe, the way it looks simple, it is also easy to build in a similar way. It is reducing that the three items which you saw in the fireside chat debate, wherein the first one was siloed platform and process. You have a single platform here, Workato, which is automating your process, integrating to variety of systems, and also integrating with Slack by thereby giving you a workbot or a chatbot kind of experience. And also you're getting data from different systems to an extent, data integration kind of ETL, ELT scenarios, right? And if you look at the second thing, legacy systems, we can easily connect to on-prem systems, legacy, SAP, or even custom applications which are created by any applications, right? And as Boaz mentioned, it's more of a citizen integrated platform, low code, no code. Most of the thing is drag and drop, easy to understand, easy to build, and which will help you with give faster automations and take these automations to the market also for faster in a ever-changing environment like today. Okay, with that, I would end my demo and look for the Q&A.
Fantastic.
I think we have 2 questions in the Q&A.
Okay, so how can I prove the benefits for my organization before having to choose which technology? So Craig, would you mind taking that one, please?
Yeah, it comes down to, I think, effort versus reward. So going out straight away and buying technology is an option, but you're probably going to need to do a business case for that. the best way to do it is just find somebody who knows a little bit of coding skills and target some of your 5-minute tasks. Probably best off speaking to IT in that respect, or there is the options of speaking to us, Synaptek, who can help you do that as well.
Fantastic. And we have another question. We've invested in RPA already to fix some immediate issues. Without realizing some of the limitations, do we need to replace this, or can we build on it? Put out to Boaz, if you're going to take that one.
Sure. I think it's a bit use case specific. So if the limitations of RPA are such that you can't even get the basic use case running, then that's probably maybe needs to be replaced. But let's assume that RPA has solved maybe version 1 or version 2 of what you needed to, but unfortunately isn't able to help you with, you know, iteration 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because of whatever limitations. Then no, I don't think you need to. I mean, most modern RPAs, you can treat them like applications or systems themselves and connect to them. You know, we see use cases all the time where you know, a robot might be doing some, you know, web page crawling, or, you know, surface automation from a mainframe because they can't connect to it, or whatever it is, right? And then an integration platform like Workato might then connect to that process, pick up, and then do, you know, the further down the line processes and steps. So no, I don't think that this is ever really a kind of rip and replace type approach. I think of it like building blocks, and some building blocks are good for some things, and some building blocks are good for other things.
Fantastic.
It's Synaptek. We've done something very similar in the past as well, where we've used RPA and something like Workato to complement each other.
Great. Well, it's good to know in that use case that you know, an investment made isn't potentially all to waste. So you know, we you know, in Synaptek we build about, you know, value-based solutions. So I think that's a good point to wrap things up. One thing we do have on offer for anyone participating, attending today, is that Synaptek are offering a free workshop to anyone who wants to know more about automation, understand where they can go in their automation journey. So feel free to reach out post event, and we can set that up. But for now, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined me on the panel. Also those who attended and helped setting this up today. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.